The Arizona Cardinals need a win on Sunday, or their season may be over before it started.
The Green Bay Packers need a win on Sunday because they haven't won a road game this season.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
7, appreciate football. We're over 33% of the way done. Alex Clancy, Peter Bukowski for this Week 7's edition of Crossover Thursday between the Arizona Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers. Thank you for making Crossover Thursday your first listen, free wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Now on the Prize Picks app today, use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I was talking to Peter before we recorded, and he's like the Grim Reaper for the Cardinals. Like, whenever I went on Locked On Sports Today, fantastic show that he hosts daily after week 2, and then everything's run amok since. This entire thing started 2021 when A.J. Brown didn't turn around in week 7 against the Packers. They don't play, like, the Packers don't make a prominent, role in the Arizona Cardinals day-to-day, but when they do, it's rarely good for the Cardinals.
The thing is, there was a time when the opposite was true, right? When you look at like 2009 was horrible. Yeah. And like there were definitely years where the Packers, like it felt like they could not beat the Cardinals. The 50 burger that the Cardinals hung on Aaron Rodgers in 2009. Now that was a long time ago now, right? Like you and I are old enough to remember that, but there are people listening to this podcast who were like in first grade when that happened. So it has been a little while. And unfortunately for the Cardinals, quarterback situation is murky, and the Packers are going to come in, I think, with something to prove because, as I mentioned in the open, they haven't won a road game this year. They went to Cleveland and lost. They went to Dallas and tied, God forbid. And so I think you could, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're going, hey, they might come to the desert and take us lightly. I just don't think that's a thing that's going to happen anymore to this team because they've shown, like, if they take a team lightly, they can lose. This is the freaking NFL, man. Like, that happens.
Yeah, and that's a conversation I had with my viewers when they lost to the Titans 2 weeks ago. So when the Cardinals lost to the Titans 2 weeks ago. So we'll get into the biggest storylines here. We'll get into the most, the matchups in the next segment, and then, keys to victory in the final, as we always do on Crossover. For me, the biggest brain mind screw for all of this is that they've lost 4 games by combined 9 points.
Yeah.
So it shows that there's good in there. And the tough part is, and you very well know this, that bad teams find a way to lose games they're supposed to win. So I don't know if the Cardinals are the best bad team in the NFL or the worst good team. I have no idea. It's kind of in that murky area in the middle.
I think it depends on what you thought of them coming in, right? Like glass half full, glass half empty. Like there were people, and I'm sure you heard it, smart NFL people and analysts and odds makers who thought, hey, this could be a sneaky team in the NFC West. And so if you were one of those people, you're like, I kind of think that they're the worst good team in the NFL. And if you were one of those people like me who was dubious of that and just sort of looked around at the talent and went, what am I supposed to get excited about here? I would go, I think there might be the best bad team. And what's weird, Alex, is if you look at their splits, like they're a pretty good first quarter team. Yep. They're not a bad second or third quarter team. They're just a really, really bad fourth quarter team. And there was an analyst, I'm going to forget his name, or I'm going to forget who it was, that would say this, like, there were these, like you might be a 2-quarter team, a 3-quarter team, and there are very few 4-quarter teams. They feel like sort of the quintessential 3-quarter teams. Like they're going to make it a game for 3 quarters, but ultimately they're going to do enough stupid stuff down the stretch that they're going to lose the game. The Vikings game last year comes to mind, Alex. Like there's no way they should have lost that game to Sam Darnold. And Sam made a couple throws at the end. They was it the horrible fumble, and you lose that game. And it's like, well, you shouldn't lose that game, but you do because that's what this team has been, unfortunately, the last few seasons.
Yeah. There it is. I was waiting. I was wondering how long it was going to come until it's just like,
it's not even a criticism. Like
the dubious of, I love, look, cause you're like, just prove me wrong. And I get it. It's rational.
Right.
I completely understand the reason why. And going into this season, I was like, if this goes awry, I will feel duped. Like I've been in this space a long time, man. So have you. Like when you see concrete actual things happen that show incremental growth, not like, oh, this game plan's going to like this fugazi stuff that you can wrap around and get people excited for. Like they brought in Josh Sweat, they brought in Dalvin Thomas, and Calais Campbell came back. Calais Campbell coming back for the Packers listeners, like that's a huge testament to things being different. He left when they wouldn't give him $30 million guaranteed, and then he went to Jacksonville, was all pro because he was over the hill. Like, the fact that he came back shows things are different. There was incremental growth. The draft, it was supposed to work, and it's just not working, but it's working, but it's not because they're losing the games they're supposed to win. They should be 5-1 right now. Like, legitimately, they should be 5-1. So talk to me about the Packers. They've played down to their opponent the majority of the season, except for week 1 where they beat Detroit pretty handily. The Cleveland game was like the Tennessee game for the Cardinals. Up 10-0. They were up 10-0, right?
Yep.
With a half left and ended up losing. And then the Dallas one was insane because the Packers had such a good defense going into Dallas. You give them a 40-burger. Like, talk to me about them playing to the level of their opponent a little bit this year.
Yeah, the thing is they beat the crap out of the Lions, and they could have won by 20 plus.
Yeah.
And so same thing with Washington. Like, they should have scored 40 points on Washington. They're like a 3 3/4 team right now. They just haven't quite played 4 quarters of complimentary football. Now, I have been telling people, anyone that will listen, that Dak Prescott just like when he typed in whatever cheat code you put in, whatever game you're playing, he had the cheat codes in the 4th quarter of that game, and in particular, just was every audible, every read, every throw, every Hail Mary was answered in that game. And then same thing with the Bengals. Like, the only reason the Bengals were even competitive in that game is because Jamar Chase made a couple just otherworldly plays.
Yeah. And
what I was telling Packer fans in the lead up to that game is they don't have the Bengals defensively anybody that can do that, can take over a game the way, the Browns front did in Cleveland.
Sure.
I don't know that the Cardinals have anybody like that either. So if we're talking about a game where one of these teams needs to close, you're going to trust the Packers offense. I was just looking up the stats. The Cardinals 31st in 4th quarter EPA per play, 32nd in success rate. And it's not close, by the way. They're giving up a 55% defensive success rate. That is ungodly bad.
Yeah.
And if you just can't get stops in the 4th quarter, you're not going to be able to beat anybody.
So the thing, yes, Mina Kimes, yes, the great Mina Kimes, friend of the show. She had Dominique Foxworth on her show. I think it was before this game last week. So this was leading up until week 6. They were defensively number 1 in EPA in the first 3 quarters and 27th in the 4th. And for me, and I don't know why I'm getting pushback on this because people don't use their eye holes, that the offense being completely anemic during the second part of the 3rd quarter through the end of game, which yields human beings wearing helmets and pads on the defensive side of the ball to get tired. I think it's the most human element to it. I know you're big. You split between analytics and like using your actual common thought.
Yep.
That is the most Occam's razor thing for me. Like, that's why the guys are tired. The offense can't stay on the field. Now, that's not perfect. They've given up game-winning drives multiple times this year when the offense was on the field for the majority of the time in the second half. So the defense is a big question mark, man. Like, Nick Ross looked like the leader in the clubhouse to be the next Ben Johnson from the defensive side of the ball to get a head coaching gig. Things are kind of starting to regress towards the mean. And when you don't know who the quarterback's going to be in week 7, we'll talk about that in the next segment. Like, I've got offensive coordinators saying that the offense looked exactly the same with Jacoby Brissett than it did with Kyler Murray. And I'm like, are we just saying things to say things to reporters? Like, it's not even close. I'm not sure how much you watched of that game last week, but they were humming with Jacoby.
Yeah, they were
throwing the ball down the field.
We'll get to that for sure here. I just double checked those stats and just to see how last week affected it. They're now 2nd in first 3 quarter defensive EPA, and it's not it's not that different in success rate either. So like it's not smoke and mirrors. It's real. This defense is solid in the first 3 quarters, and I think to your point, they just run out of gas, and they need the offense to take up some of that. Like, Alex, you saw it. They should have won last week against a really good team. And so the Packers, again, I think 6.5, which is our friends at FanDuel have set the line at 6.5. I think that is, they don't see Jacoby Brissett playing well enough 2 weeks in a row, because I think this is like 6.5 on a neutral field. And it being, now there's going to be how many, 25, 30,000 Packer fans there on Sunday. But still, you got to travel. Like, there's all that stuff. Like, that's all built in. I think that the Jacoby Brissett consistency, that's the big thing that if you're the Packers, you're going, Micah Parsons, just go get that guy.
Yeah. It's the new car smell thing. I'll explain my theory that I've discussed with you in the past, but I'll bring it back up. Peter Bukowski, Locked on Packers. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. We'll roll on here next. This episode of Locked On Crossover Thursday is brought to you by our friends over at Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no averages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month, man. $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered to the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your phone and keep your same number in contacts. So let me get this straight. So say you're somewhere else, you're paying exponentially more. Bring your phone, bring your number, $15 a month, largest 5G network on the planet. I mean, I don't really understand what more you need to say. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Upfront payment of $45 required. Limited time, new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigs on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. This episode of Crossover Thursday is also brought to you by our friends over at Built. These guys are awesome. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payments into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use that link so they know we sent you. Uh-oh. There he is. All right, cool. Peter Bukowski. Dude, how many years have you done this?
Since 2017.
Yeah, so me too. So this is season 9.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anyways, cool. So talk to me about, irrespective of quarterback or maybe not, the matchup that you're looking at, or is it just Micah Parsons versus the offensive line?
I think it has to be the offensive line. The Cardinals, when was the last time they had a really good offensive line?
It's been average to slightly above average for a little while now, which you'll take in this day and age.
Was Lomas Brown involved? I don't know. They're 27th in adjusted sack rate. So give throwaways out of there. That's not great. And the Packers unfortunately have not been sacking the quarterback at a really high rate, but they have been pressuring the quarterback at a really high rate. And what I just wrote about this for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to, is they need to make more splash plays. And so I think one way you can do that is you got to create negatives. You've got to create sacks. You've got to turn pressures into interceptions, into floated balls. Like they're getting too many pressures to have as few sacks as they have. And they're getting too many pressures to have as few bad passes as they've created, right? We normally think of pressures turning, getting quarterbacks to throw the ball off the mark. Oh, it goes off a defender's hand. It gets tipped. It turns into a turnover that way. It just hasn't happened. And it's not happening at what I think is an unsustainable rate, Alex. I think eventually they're gonna have one of these games where they have 6, 7, 8 sacks. It might not be this week, but if it's Kyler at less than 100%, if it's Jacoby Brissett, who's not the world's most mobile guy, but he is hard to sack. He's a big, strong guy. But he does have a big, long windup. That's to me is the key here, because if you can create negative plays, I don't know how Arizona has the firepower to keep up with an offense in Green Bay that I think is really starting to find its rhythm here. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to play? What's the situation at quarterback? Talk to me, Goose.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray is not speaking to the media today because apparently a foot injury makes you not able to talk, which is awesome. All signs
sounds like a bad foot injury if you become mute.
Yeah, it is. It's a whole other set of issues that we'll discuss more of that at 10. It's probably going to be Jacoby. They've got their bye in week 8. If they didn't and the season was on the line, maybe he'd play this week. Foot injuries are tough, man. I mean, we're seeing it as like the next epidemic around the NFL, which is crazy. Marvin Harrison Jr. is trending well, but still in concussion protocol. Walter Nolan, which is the most fun for me, because for me it's going to be can they get to Jordan Love? If Walter Nolan practices, number 16 overall pick out of Ole Miss, was looked by many to be a fringe top 10 guy. If he can play and add that quick twitch in the interior defensive line with Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson, maybe it'll allow the guys to spring off the edge a little bit more easily. And I think like they're close, but when they're not close, they're nowhere in the arena. That's where the 27, the bottom third of the league, not having Garrett Williams being, the number one corner, him well from Syracuse.
Yeah.
They've done wizardry on defense. They're playing 4 safeties on the field a lot now with corners down. Like they're making things work, but it's a bend, don't break thing. But if the offense can't get it done, which is, it's the overarching thing. The defense needs to be the anchor. And this is going to be a tough opponent. I mean, you've got a bunch of B receivers, which is difficult in having 1A and a bunch of C minuses. It's who's the poison going to be? I mean, it's the Robert Meacham and Drew Brees and Devery Henderson thing where it's like, who's it going to be this week?
Yeah. And I think that leads to consternation for Packers fans, right? We just did a show about this. And Matt LaFleur's like, I'm not changing. He sort of did the Nick Saban, like, so quit asking, like, because he's just like, he hates the question. He hates the premise. And to a certain point, I understand that they can just throw the ball wherever they need to on a given play. And Matt LaFleur will tell you, right, like where he believes his team is by who he runs the money plays for. Who are their core concepts for? Romeo Doubs is still really the guy.
Yeah.
What's interesting about Jordan Love this year, Alex, is when he's clean by all the metrics, pick any of them, the old school, the new school, he's the best quarterback in the NFL this year. Statistically, the most productive quarterback in the NFL when he is not pressured. When he is blitzed, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, top 5 in all the categories. The nerd stats and the boomer stats, but when he is pressured and it's not a blitz, if you just get pressure with 4, it's bad. And part of that is that's true for every quarterback, right? Like pressuring a quarterback makes them worse, but he has been a little more sensitive to pressure this year than he has in years past, certainly more than he was in 2023. And so that's the thing, is like, can these guys win one-on-one? Packer fans selfishly are going, go to Arizona, beat the brakes off the Cardinals, and make them trade you Calais Campbell, because the Packers have some interior defensive line issues. Devontae Wyatt has not practiced this week. And they traded Kenny Clark in the Micah Parsons trade. And they have some interior defensive line depth that Lucas Van Ness is hurt. So Calais Campbell would solve a lot of problems for the Packers, Alex. Just, something to think about.
Cool. Yeah. You know what? You just want to be the Eagles and just take all the good players and then just say,
Calais deserves a chance to chase a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he came home for a reason, bro. It wasn't golf. I don't even know if he's a good golfer.
God, imagine how far that guy hits the ball.
Imagine how long those clubs are. Like, I don't understand how LeBron can have clubs. They've got to be double size. Like Calais, I don't.
They have to be custom clubs for
sure. Can you see the ball from the ground? Like, it's crazy. So, for me, defensively fine. Josh Jacobs is going to be you can see the problem with the Packers is they can be flashy. They just choose not to be. Like, they choose to be a team that's running the ball like it's Buffalo in December in an ice storm. And it's like, that's boring. And then Josh Jacobs, 4 yards, 6 yards, 9 yards, 4 yards, 9 yards. You inject him in the passing game, which is brand new from when he went to Green Bay. Like, obviously, he had the show out year last year. That's why when the Cardinals are on offense, I'm in huck it, baby territory. I'm throw the ball 45 times. Like, the reason why Drew Petzing was able to do what he did with the run game was because they had James Conner. And because they had, able-bodied backs. That's not this anymore. Jacoby Brissett throws a nice deep ball. He threw the ball 45 times, looked completely competent. It was a little rusty in the first half. Threw a bad pick after the Cardinals turned over the Colts. But I want everybody getting 8 targets. Just throw it. Who cares? That's the only way. You're not going to be able to beat this team 13-10. It's not going to happen. It's got to be more points scored. It's got to be more of a shootout. And if the Cardinals can do that, I think they can keep it close, and then the defense will probably give up a touchdown at the end of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every team, when they're playing a backup quarterback, should just get in Huckett mode. Just create some variance. Just throw the ball down the field. And, the offense just generally has the advantage against the defense because they know where they're going. And we saw Joe Flacco do it second half. Like, not everyone has Jamar Chase. Marvin Harrison Jr. is certainly not proven he is on Jamar Chase's level. But they just thought, just give me a couple chances to throw the ball deep to Jamar Chase, and, you can be in this. Now, he still ultimately averaged less than 5 yards on an attempt, and they only scored 18 points. To your point, the Cardinals can't win this game with 18 points. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the defense is good enough as currently constituted. And the Packers found something last week, Alex, with this run game. The run game looked much better last week. Their offensive line seems healthy, although Zach Tom didn't practice on Wednesday. He was, get this, he was in so much pain dealing with an oblique injury on Sunday. He said he blacked out in the second half. He does not remember the second half. That's how much pain he was in. So hopefully he just gets a little, frankly, I wouldn't be surprised. Anthony Belton, their second round pick from this year, was back at practice on Wednesday dealing with an ankle. I would not be surprised if they just said, hey, Anthony Belton, it's going to be your week. And Jordan Morgan is the right guard now. And Aaron Banks is the left guard now. He's healthy. Everybody seems healthy. Let's give Zach Tom a week off because you got TJ Watt coming up in 2 weeks. And so you'd really like to have him for that one. So yeah, this is a Cardinals team that's going to have to manufacture points. Like this is pull out your trick plays. This is, and the Packers are going to have to be ready for that stuff because the Cardinals are desperate, right? Like this is Jonathan Gannon is desperate. This team is on the brink right now. And you have the chance, if you get out to an early lead, you have the chance to just have this team say, we're done. Like this is not going to happen for us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let me ask you this before we pivot to keys to victory. This is a wildly selfish question that I'm going to ask because I talked about this on the show today. I try to think about things a little bit. I try to challenge, this is how it is because this is why it is. It's just like, well, that's lazy. Can we challenge that maybe? Like for me, when it comes to firing coaches midseason, where the Cardinals were with their dysfunction and fractured foundation, everything like that, it's still kind of like that because it's Michael Bidwell. But like what Monty Oswald has brought in and Jonathan Gannon has brought in is stability and culture and an adulthood from the front office and the coaching staff that they didn't have before. For me, even if they're lame duck for the rest of the year and they lose this game and they lose a couple, like sustaining that culture, the catalyst for that, even if they're not back next year, is keeping them through the entirety of the season. Firing somebody just to say, well, look, we did something. Who cares? Like, that's what I'm challenging. It's like, what are you going to do then? You're just going to trade everybody and start over? Like, I understand it's somewhat irrational. Does that make sense?
I don't think it's irrational. No, I think you're right. Especially because this is not like this is a team that had high expectations. Like no one expected them to be a Super Bowl contender this year. If it goes worse than what I always base it on is the team still playing for you? If the team is like the team in Miami is still playing for Mike McDonald, they're still trying. They almost beat the Chargers last week. Yeah. They're still playing their butts off for him. And so as long as they're playing hard, I think you can justify keeping the coach. It's when you look at Tennessee and like that was just an untenable situation. Like that team was lost in the wilderness. They had they were embarrassingly bad. And you can't have that for the same reasons you're saying. Like if you want to build the culture forward and you want to replace them at the end of the season, fine, but it doesn't help. There's no benefit in doing it now or in a week or 2 weeks, whatever. I think the same thing is true in the reverse, where there's no benefit for Brian Callahan to finish out the season. That team was a hot mess. And if you're the ownership or the GM, you have to step in and say, this is not acceptable. We cannot do this. I don't think the Cardinals, like Alex, I don't think the Cardinals are at that point at all. I mean, I think that they've won some games that they probably feel like they should have, or lost some games they probably feel like they should have won. I think that's a good position for a team to be in, to say, hey, look, we're close. Like, let's go. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep building. Because I wouldn't be surprised if, Kyler gets healthy in a week or two, and by the end of the year, this like is a 9-win team. Like that would not surprise me that much, because I do think, you mentioned it, the defense is for 3 quarters. Like it's really good. And so unfortunately, James Conner was a huge catalyst, and losing him is such a bummer. But like, why can't Marvin Harrison Jr. become something really good this year? Why can't Kyler Murray make a couple plays? Why can't they win some of these games that they have been losing late? This stuff is so random. The ball is oblong. It bounces weird.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I wonder if Brian Callahan's upset that he had to work an extra week after beating the Cardinals instead of just losing to them like they were supposed to, and he would have had an extra week of vacation. I don't know. We'll never know. Keys to victory. We've talked about him a little bit. We'll iron him home next. This episode of Crossover Thursday is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. They deliver confidence with every ride, with more IHS Top Safety Pick awards than anybody else as of last month, which is pretty accurate. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything, but from smooth handling to intuitive controls, and with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence throughout almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when we make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, wrapping up week 7 crossover. I can't do it. I cannot believe it's week 7. Like, it's like you just kind of black out for the entire season. And it's week 15. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So keys to victory. We went a little bit more in depth last segment. So we've kind of hit on the majority of them here. I'm going to take one. The keys to victory, if it's Jacoby Brissett, which it most likely will be as we're recording this show, it's no restrictor plate, throw the ball. Like, that's it. And hopefully Marv plays because he had a couple chunk games with Jacoby Brissett. Like, this is what we've been waiting for with Kyler. I wonder if it's just the 6-inch height difference. Like, I feel like Kyler gets shorter every year. Like, it's the weird. It's like a Benjamin Button thing. It's the weirdest thing. Like, we didn't have these issues year 1, year 2, year 3. I know defenses adjust, obviously, over the years, but, like, I don't know. But throw the ball down the field. Trey McBride, Michael Wilson is a hot button name for football nerds. He was a really solid college football wide receiver. Yep. He's big. He catches everything. He's great with contested balls. He's great with his feet along the sidelines and in pay dirt. Just huck it, bro. Like, throw the ball 45 times again, and I'm in.
I think for that reason, the Green Bay Packers, the key, and I feel like a broken record every week I do this, but every week they play someone where I just feel like if they don't turn the ball over, they're going to win. And so not only do you want to win the turnover battle, I think it is more about offensively, just don't waste possessions. Like, if you go back to the Bengals game, the Packers were 14.5-point favorites. They win that game by 9, right? Well, they marched right down the field on the opening drive, and Jordan Love throws a bad interception in it wasn't quite the red zone, but it was field goal range. If he just doesn't do that, they win by 12, and it doesn't feel like the same. If you just, like, you extrapolate these things, 12 doesn't feel that different than 14, right? They basically do what you win a game 30-18. People are pretty happy about that. It's that same sort of thing. Like, they left points on the board against Dallas when they get a field goal blocked or an extra point blocked that turns into 2 points. Right. It's those little things that let inferior opponents play to your level, and you then play down to their level, right? So don't turn the ball over because you don't waste possessions. This defense, we've talked about it. The first 3 quarters, it's good. And so if you can possess the ball, wear them down, by the time it gets to the fourth quarter with Josh Jacobs, if you haven't wasted possessions, you'll get to 24, 27 points. And the question is then, can Jacoby Brissett get to that same number of points, or has Micah Parsons taken his soul at some point over the course of, the 45 previous minutes? We'll see. But I feel like such an old school, like, Joe football when I talk about the turnovers being the key, but it just, the more I watch football, the more I just kind of feel like in basketball, it's like, just shoot the ball better than the other team and you're going to win. Like, just don't turn the freaking ball over and you're probably going to win. Yeah, I do that. A turnover battle every time, every show. So I feel it. Do you have Brandon Aubrey nightmares? More importantly, like, no, Matt LaFleur does. I don't, because it's like, he was the guy that Matt LaFleur was so freaking scared of. And I did a whole segment on, like, I can't believe how cowardly Matt LaFleur played the end because he was so freaking worried about Brandon Aubrey making a field goal in overtime. It's like, just score a touchdown, Matthew. What are you worried about? Go win the freaking game. God bless America. He pulled the Matthew out. Jeez. It's Brandon Aubrey worth a first-round pick in Dynasty. I don't know. We're going sideways here. Okay. I know. It's close. If I thought you had the button ready, I would have pulled it out, but I didn't think you had the button ready. I had to do it on my show. I had to drop one, Alex. I don't do it often, but I F-bombed it because I was just like, it was so bad, dude. Like, it was so pathetic to be afraid of multiple times in the game, to be afraid to not go for it on 4th and short in plus territory because you're like, well, they're just 1 first down away from being in Brandon Aubrey's field goal. Go in the game. What are we talking about? He dropped the Matthew. He's not even close to a Matthew. He's more of a Matty than a Matthew. For me, like, one last victory here. The Cardinals have had a proclivity, like, I'm not even putting a time step. They've had a proclivity for their existence in not being able to stop tight ends. For me, Tucker Kraft is the scariest weapon that the Packers have, because not only is he their best red zone threat. I'm not going to go into X's and O's because I don't cover the Packers, but I draft him in fantasy every year because I know if he's healthy, he's going to be a top 5 guy because of the targets, the value of targets,
the way that he can break away. He has good enough breakaway speed for a tight end to be kind of hybrid in that.
Underrated breakaway like speed for a tight end.
He had a huge touchdown catch. Oh, he had a 19, and he reached out. He's super athletic from last week. He had that touchdown, 19-yarder that he reached out for. Like, he's the one that scares me the most because he's kind of a tweener. Like, you kind of know what Matthew Golden's skill set is. Romeo Doubs can run the routes. He's, whatever. He's a Stephon Diggs light. Like, but you know what they can do. Tucker Kraft can do everything. So for me, stop the tight end and let the one thing that I will say to defend the Cardinals that is going overlooked a lot, even losing Garrett Williams. Will Johnson is the highest rated Pro Football Focus guy through week 6. It wasn't, or through week 5. So he's really good at football. Okay. Yeah. Max Melton, right away. The jury's still out if he can be a bona fide CB1 light. He's more of a CB2. And then you've got Dadrian Taylor, Demerson, Budda Baker, and Jalen Thompson over the top with the 3 safety set that they've got a good secondary. They have an opportunistic secondary, and the pass rush just needs to get home more in the second half than they have. And the Cardinals, if you told me this was a 1-score game at the end, I'm not sure. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. If it is, we're having completely different conversations. If it's 30-10, we're having different conversations. And I just don't know when that ball is going to drop, if it will.
Let me ask you a question. Have they played a really good offense this year?
Have they played a really good offense this year? Seattle was really good through 3 quarters. Yep. But no. The Colts are a really good offense. Look, I think the Colts are really good.
Number 1 in all the nerd stats. They've scored, they scored 30 on Tampa. I think you can make the case that they belong in there. But the Colts last week are probably the best offense that they've faced, just statistically.
Yeah.
And they scored 30. Now, when I was going through this, trying to make predictions and also, maybe for some personal interests that I have, and I was trying to figure out, okay, what does the score look like? And I was like, I kind of think the Cardinals are, even with Jacoby Brissett, going to be able to get to 20, 21, especially at home. Who's healthy at running back? I don't know, but I kind of also don't care. I just feel like Drew Petzing he's a really good coach. I really like the way that offense can manufacture stuff. I just don't think they can get to 24. And I think this is a game. The Packers have scored 27 points, I think 3 times this year. So it feels like cheating to say 27-21, but that's how it feels to me, 27-20. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. And so this is going to be a game where the Cardinals are going to lose a game where they feel like they probably could have won it and didn't. And that's just that's the difference between a really good team and a team that's trying to be really good.
Yeah. Groundhog's Day was one of my favorite movies growing up. So, why not re-implement Sonny and Cher at this point? Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers. You've seen that movie multiple times, right? We're in the same age range.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I said shout out Bill Murray.
Oh, shout out Bill Murray. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, sweet. Locked On Packers, Locked On Cardinals. That was crossover Thursday, week 7. We'll talk to you on our respective podcast tomorrow.